So we'll get started. First of all, wishing all of you a very happy Pongal.
Internet issues, I guess.
Are you frozen? Yeah, somebody.
Of course, Shankranti, Makara Shankranti,
Yeah.
and so many other beautiful names of this festival. I know you've all been listening. What is that?
No, it was
Om.
shaking. Yeah, your voice was shaking like.
Yeah. Now can you hear?
Yeah. Now it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to wish everyone a happy Pongal, Makara Shankanti for people from this part of the world. I think most of us here are from the south. So I hope you all enjoyed Pongal.
Yeah. We celebrated on
Let's get
14th
started.
today
Yeah.
for you.
Hari Om,
Okay.
happy Pongal to everyone.
Pongal to everybody.
Thank you, Anand. Thank you. Welcome. Om. ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहैः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. So Meena, you want to start?
Yeah. ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन कृतितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्तदामि भगवद्गीते भगवद्वेक्षिणीम् नमोऽस्तु देव्याश विशालबुद्धे पुल्लारविन्दायदभक्त्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः
प्रपन्न पारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं त्वा सर्वपापेभ्यः मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः।
Thank you. So we are on the 13th chapter, and we are on that aspect of the 13th chapter, which is dealing with the 20 values. We started with looking at the first value last time, and I cannot tell you how much I contemplate upon this value. I find what a great relevance it has for us as the first rung of something that we have to pay attention to as we are climbing this ladder of spirituality. If we recognize the fact that it is only spirituality or being in a spiritual path will help us really move forward, evolve forward, then for sure this value of the very first value of amanitvam is something that we really have to pay attention to. So for that, for today's thing, first of all, I actually was extremely busy this week and I couldn't really prepare much for today's session. But I really thought that we should spend a little time discussion of this first value of amanitvam. And speaking of that, we discussed last time how it is the 20 qualities of the jnani, which is where, we all want to be there. When I say jnani, not a wise person from a point of view of, and again, the more and more I contemplate upon this amanitvam and the second one, which is adhambitvam, it really brings home so much, and it kind of really puts you your feet on the ground to think about where we are with how we deal with things in the world, because that's where this kshetram is, where we are trying to cleanse ourselves. We can read a lot, we can spend a lot of time on YouTube listening to great lectures, but at the end of the day, am I really changing myself? Is this causing a transformation in myself? How do I know this? The only way we can know is when we get hit in the world. We get we come across a lot of people, we come across situations, and in each one of them, how are we reacting to it? I again always remember Pradeep in our study group. He would always say, the word reaction is so very important. It's not about how we act in the world, but how we react to situations. And this repository of values, which is coming up with this 20 values, it really brings home to the point, brings home to us home, to this aspect of, if I'm practicing these values, we will see how our reaction changes to the situations. So, with that, I'll just skip this and go straight to the values. Each one, as I said, very, very powerful. And last time we talked about how this one particular paper really, the very first rung of the ladder here, which is, what is my behavior? How do I conduct myself? How do people judge me? When I use the word judgment, of course, I have to be careful on how I use the word. It's not as if, people are always judging. Yes, maybe people are judging, but and not that we depend on their judgment to live in this world. But this six values down here, starting with, this amanitvam, and then adhambitvam, ahimsa, kshanti, rajavam, all these really determines the behavior and the conduct for us. So, this is the verse that we started talking about, which has 9 values. All 9 values, very important and very much something which is grossly obvious for all of us in our behavior in the world. The rest of them are more subtle, and that is where this whole aspect is given here, you know. But this aspect here is the 9 values from which we have taken Adhambitvam. And today, of course, my focus is all on Adhambitvam, which we started last time. But the reason for bringing it up today again is I really want us to bring some
The internet is very spotty.
as I said, go to the next. What is that?
Internet is very spotty. It's like
Unstable. Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
yeah, but it's just not continuous. It breaks up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Even now, is it happening? One second, maybe
now.
let me check one thing here. My let me check what my thing is. Oh, okay, okay. There is this might work better.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay, now it should be better. I think I changed the. Um, to another carrier. Can you hear me? Is it
Yeah.
better?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, very good. Thank you,
Yeah.
Jayshree.
Yes.
So let's start with going through a few of these concepts. And after I talk about these concepts, I would like us to, like I said, give some examples. Before we come to what amanitvam is, so we have this word which is self-worth. Now, how would we all define self-worth? What do you think? What is self-worth?
Mm.
By the way, do you see one screen or two screen?
One screen.
One screen.
One screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
What we excel in, what we are gifted with, or what we are the, uh, the best of best skills we have. Um,
So, Jayshree, just one second. Maybe I have to increase my volume. The volume is low here.
mm.
Speaker microphone. Second. Yeah, Jayshree, can you say again what you said?
Let me, I'm having problem with my sound system also. So
Okay.
basically what we are, what we are gifted with or what we excel at something.
So, Hari Om, is it Manitvam, no?
Yes,
Almost
it is.
Manittu.
Well, it is not manitvam, actually, Amma. Manitvam is an exaggerated opinion of what self-worth is. And the reason I bring this word self-worth is, from a positive psychology point of view, this kind of really tells us where we should be, but where we are today is sometimes an exaggerated version of who we think we are.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Is it different from self-esteem?
Same.
um,
Mm.
kind of similar, kind of similar.
Similar? Okay.
Yes,
So I
yes,
think I can kind of a thing. I am capable of doing this.
yes, yes.
It's not capable of saying that. Even when it's not capable of saying that.
Yeah, so, self-worth is something where, or self-esteem, we have a self-esteem of ourselves which is based upon, either of any of these things, not all of them. Sometimes we may have a certain sense of an esteem or worth based on the fact that, I have good health, or I have, I'm reasonably wealthy, for example, or if I'm working, for example, I have a certain position, or, I'm beautiful, based on, of course, the profession in which I am, for which I need to exert my beauty or whatever. And then control, of course, goes with position, etc. But self-worth also comes from a lot of other aspects which we don't pay attention to. From, for example, where I live, which subdivision do I live, which city do I live, or, how many children I have, or how many relatives I have, or, how big is my influence. All this sort of contributes to a certain esteem I have about myself and how I find that I'm worthy of something, right? So this is what we call as self-worth. So as Amma was saying, manitvam. So what is manitvam? Or uh, so manitvam is an overestimation of the self-worth. Okay? Acknowledgement that we have one or more of these characteristics is a correct assessment. Okay? But then the question is that same thing that I'm very much, I feel I'm worthy of, or where I have this esteem, if it makes me crave for some attention, for example, even simple thing, let's take health. If I am at a certain weight or height and everything within myself, I if I'm okay with it and whatever, I feel comfortable with it, I'm okay, that's good. That is good self-worth. But because of which, if I'm trying to attract attention, you know, and for example, I'm trying to lose weight and I lost some weight. Now I feel good about it, that's fine. But if I'm expecting somebody to say, "Oh, wow, you lost weight," and and I immediately feel happy about it, now that is manitvam, okay? Where I'm expecting somebody to notice it, or I'm disappointed when somebody did not notice it, that is manitvam, okay? So that is what I wanted to put out here in a simple example of health. Same thing with wealth. If I expect somebody to acknowledge the amount of money I have, or even let's say, or I'm, again, I'm bringing out very practical examples here. Say, because of my wealth, suppose I donated a lot of money or whatever, and I expect to be acknowledged because of that. Now that's that's something that is really manitvam. So it is kind of an not just an opinion. It is it that is what we call as an exaggerated opinion about oneself. Doing something or being who I am is perfectly all right. That is my self-worth. But where because of it I'm expecting something, that is called as amanitvam. Okay? Atmani Pujyatva Bhavana. So this aspect is what we call as manitvam. So any questions here? This is a very important aspect. I brought two uh, very practical examples from a health and a wealth perspective. Can somebody give any more examples of this? Because this is very important for us to understand. Because when I understand this, then I will automatically reflect this and bring it into my life times when I might tend to cross this boundary of what is acceptable and what is not acceptable.
Hari Om.
Yes, Anand.
Yeah, you covered many points. Like I know what makes a person worth, or manitvam. It's just wealth, health, and then and so many aspects that way. Actually in the US, if I had to apply for a somebody has to apply for a car loan or something, the first thing they do is the credit check, which is essentially to see what the person is worth, right? It's saying like how much the bank balance and then job, and then I think their objective would be like, okay, is in a sound position to pay off for the car, or will he
Correct.
get us will he get into any trouble? So
Correct.
I mean that's the kind of the starting point. And again,
Correct.
in some of the points as you mentioned, it's within the limits. Like a person knows who he is,
Mm-hmm.
what he has, and then he is happy with that. That part would be fine. And then again, as you mentioned, it's the crossing the limits, exaggerated, and boasting, right? Like I am this much. I'm which may not be a true value. So all
Mm-hmm.
that can cause into trouble, including even in the I would say the ajatmic point of view.
Right. That example of what car loan was very good, where you said, you have to put down what your worth is for to justify the car that you you are eligible for, correct? And sometimes we may think this mana being exaggerated opinion is the boasting part of it. In fact, boasting part of it comes at adambitvam, which we will talk about it. But uh, amanitvam is we do have the self-worth, okay? We are worthy of something, but when I'm expecting somebody else to recognize that worthiness in me, then that becomes manitvam, okay?
Hare,
As I gave that example of health, when I'm losing weight, if I want someone to acknowledge that, oh yeah, she's losing weight or whatever, that is manitvam. So go ahead, Meena.
Hari Om. So happy Pongal to everybody. Mahagarakshan Pranti. Okay, what I was trying to say was our conscious, our own conscious will prove our self-worthiness. For instance, like, I mean, we don't have to prove to anybody, except as the case what Anand brought it out for, because, here, our credit history has to be good at that, leave alone all that. But in general, I'm saying our conscious knows how much self-worthy you are. And uh, why do we have to, I mean, that is what, we all try to get some good comments from somebody and something like that. Why do we need all that? If your conscience knows what you are, how much self-worth you are, then don't worry about it. Just forget about it and just keep going what is right for you.
Right.
That's what I feel. And also I sent you a couple of examples, good
Yes.
examples.
Yes. Please do mention that.
Yeah. And that also, I mean, next class you can, I have severe throat infection. So next class you can, once you go through it, I gave you a couple of 2-3 examples which are really apt for Manatva and Amanatvam. And I want you to explain to all of us, so, we can understand in detail more.
In fact, I will cover it here itself because today's talk, I really wanted to spend this time on Amanitvam because,
Yeah.
as I mentioned, it is the most practical value which we can practice and which will really help us in this path of spirituality, as I mentioned earlier. So what you mentioned, Meena, is forget about what others are saying about
Yes.
us or whatever, right? All that is fine when things are going well. But one never knows at what point I'll be hit by some comment of somebody or even my own mind, at what point we don't know when that will happen. So it is important for me to practice this value when everything is going well. That way, I do not develop an opinion about who I am, you know. So that's so what Meena had brought up some examples is I'll come to one example later. This aspect of and I in fact I have that case study here. I put that in here about the fact that for example, when I am suppose this is a work situation. In fact, I may yeah, I'll probably come to that later because I've built it up a little bit here. Um, Yes, you have this example which will come up later. So Meena, I'll come to that.
Yeah.
So let me go to the next one. As to then what is amanitvam? Okay, this to me, it really hits the nail on the head, which is it is completely giving me a freedom from the desire from any external validation of who I am. For example, let's take the same example of weight loss. I worked hard, I exercised, and I now have a certain weight and I feel good. But do I really need others to acknowledge it? Not really. So, totally giving up this desire for others to acknowledge one's greatness is what amanitvam is, Because if I have the desire that every time I want somebody to acknowledge me, it creates a dependence on somebody always to acknowledge me for something or the other. And if that doesn't happen, that expectation does not happen, that can lead to anger or agitation when that admiration is not received.
Hariom,
So,
that's what I said. If you have expectations, then you get disappointments. So that's
correct,
what I said. Why do we want to have expectations when you know for you and you know your self-worth, what your self-worth and what you are, your conscience knows pretty much. So
right.
that's what I was trying to say. If
Yes,
you have expectations, then you get into disappointments, and as you said, anger, ego, and so on and so forth. That's what I was trying
exactly.
to say. Thank you.
Correct. Correct.
But all
So,
this, what you're
Amanat,
saying is fine, right? For your personal
yes,
development. But again,
yes,
we don't live in a shell. We interact
yes,
with people all over. It could be your job. In your job, when you have your performance review, management review, and you're not validated for all the work you have done, definitely it's going to not sit well. Are you going to say, oh, it's fine if you don't acknowledge what I have done? No. So,
correct.
No, what I was
Exactly.
trying to say was no. Busha, what I was trying to say was leave alone what Anant gave the example for car and then work and all
your
that. Of
credit
course,
history,
you have to be
yeah.
recognized for your job in order for you to get promotion and then increase in your pay. That is all different. But in general, I'm saying simple things like your weight and then how you do and all that. That is all. It's a personal thing. That's what I was trying to say. I was not trying to relate your job and stuff like that. I know for sure for job you have to be recognized for your job. You have to be validated. Only then you'll get your promotion. Only then you'll get your income increase and earn an increase and stuff like that. And as Anand said, for car, yes, you have to have your good credit history in order for you to buy a very branded high-end car and all that. So that is all different. But in general, I was trying to say, I was not trying to connect
No,
anything.
yeah, but still, what I'm saying is it's not like a switch, right? Where you just switch off, okay, here I'm going to act this way, here I'm not going to act that way. So it kind of,
What
Yeah.
I feel is you're not living for yourself, every time, you're living for somebody else. That's my personal thing. I was just trying
Yeah.
to.
Right. But coming back to Usha's point, which is an extremely, extremely valid point, and for that reason, this amanitvam is a very important quality, is like Usha, when you pointed out, saying that if I'm not recognized in my work for what I have done, how do we deal with it? That is where the crux of amanitvam really comes into play. When I know that I have done when I know that this is what my worth is, this is what my contribution is. Um, if I practice this value, what it does, it gives me a lot of energy to know that at some point in my life, this will be recognized. The timing probably is not the right one. Maybe my boss is not the right boss for me to recognize that. Or maybe it is a point where there were a couple of other people who are probably better than me, which I'm not aware of, and for which, my boss is recognizing. Or maybe it could be a political situation for which my boss is recognizing the other person more than me. So, in all these things, two of them is completely out of my hands. The other one is totally in my hands, and which is I know that I'm capable of this one. I really do not need any external validation, not necessarily. I mean, with regard to the boss part of it, if I know that this is who I am, I will actually fight it even with much more passion than if if I feel that, oh my God, he did not recognize me. So I am going now with complete confidence back to my boss because I know this is my worth. And that is what Amanitvam gives. The Amanitvam gives you a complete freedom to act the way you want, the way we want, rather than expecting my boss to always acknowledge me for what I'm doing when I do not know that there are so many other external factors that could be the reason why he's not doing it. If I don't know if that makes sense.
yeah, but again, you're going to fight for your own cause, right? What you're saying, right? Yeah.
Yes, you
So
have to fight for
you're
it.
not saying to hell with him what he thinks. We're not
Correct.
saying that. Yeah. So it's a little hard for me to, it could be any situation too. It could be just your family
Yes.
situation with your
Yes,
children or whatever, or say, oh, I did so much and you guys don't even, these things will happen. And,
correct.
so it's very hard to isolate yourself and sit in a shell and say, okay, this, or in a bubble and say, oh, all this doesn't affect me. It does.
Correct.
So,
Yes, and that is where this Amanatam value is that it gives me the freedom from depending upon anybody, whether it's my boss, my family, my friends, everyone, to focus the complete attention upon myself and not on an outside me for that validation. I call this as validation, which is it could be an honor, it could be a praise, it could be even probably a negative thing, which is somebody criticizing me for something what I did. All this is quote unquote the validation part of it.
Will it create an ego within yourself?
No, it is not that it creates an ego. It is actually the existing ego is affected.
In this scenario, what Usha pointed out, can we say what Krishna is saying? Do your duty and then, don't expect the results, and automatically
Right.
the results will come to you. Does that apply here?
That does apply,
it
but
does.
yeah, it does apply. The only thing about it is that this reflection on this value more and more will give you a lot more strength than just accepting, do your duty and leave the rest. It is good. We may say that to ourselves in the short term or for that moment, if it hits us at that moment, or even for it to hit us at that moment. If we have this validation, if we have this reflection and really understand Amanitvam, that do your duty and leave the rest will come automatically right away when we face a situation. Otherwise, this do your duty and leave the rest will come to us only when my mind is very calm. Like for example, right now in satsang, it is great to say that, but I want this to really hit me when I am facing a situation.
Mhm.
Yeah. 1 second, I'll just be one.
ഭയങ്കര ജാലി ഇതാണ് പോയി ഓരോ somebody doing some other. My God.
Sorry. I had to take care of some noise level here. Yeah. So, Geeta, you were going to say something? No. Okay. So, we talked about this before on how having that self-worth or self-respect can really bring a greater confidence and awareness for us, this Amanitvam, because it really helps us with all this. It really helps us understand our strength, weaknesses through self-reflection, of course. And because of this, it reduces this impulsive actions. This is so very important. You know, when I think it was Jayashri who's, no, Geeta, you said about does it increase my ego, is what you asked, right? Um, Now, this ego thing is what
Or
leads
will that
to,
happen due to my ego? Both.
it is more or less due to my ego.
Mm. Mhm.
It is due to my ego that my reaction towards something becomes very angry. And so, greater practice of this one really helps us to reduce that impulsive action. It helps us to manage stress, of course, and improving our well-being and professional effectiveness. Again, I'm glad Usha brought up this point. And this is where even this example, this kind of case study, which I wanted to present today, is how if I now with the way positive psychology deals with it, or in a Western way, if a therapist, who did not have the value of Amanitvam, how would that person deal with it? I have just a case study to talk about it. But then, like I said, the self, I'm calling this also in a way, self-worth leads to self-awareness. I'm completely aware of who I am, and that helps you with all these qualities which I've put out here. Now, of course, last time we talked about this, that it is a big obstacle. How does this become a big obstacle? Because again, purely the biggest obstacle is when I have that manitvam, I have great expectations from everybody around me, you know, whether it's my boss, whether it's my colleagues, whether it is my family, friends, everything. Because I feel that people are not recognizing me for who I am. Simple, it's not even an exaggerated thing. It's just that I just feel that people are leaving me out of meetings. People, don't consider me for inviting me to a party, or people don't, my neighbor doesn't look at me or smile, all these subtle things. And last time, I think I talked about this fact, this self-admiration. It causes an addiction for us. Slowly and slowly, it causes an addiction. And this is, again, the ego part of it. Our ego allows us to get addicted to more and more of the self admiration. I mean, nowadays they call this as a dopamine kick, right? Every time somebody tells me something, there is a spike of my dopamine, and now I get addicted to the dopamine thing more and more and things. So we talked about last time again the social media, how the social media really causes this issue for us. And because of this, it's leading to all these issues, which again, when Shankaracharya probably wrote the Bhashya for Armanitvam, he never thought these things would also happen. But we are living in a world that even that small amount of kick that I get leads to all these issues. More importantly is we talked about also that wanting that validation more and more causes an addiction. And because of that, I tend to lose my own um, ability to deal with things. So there is a veil that is created which prevents me from really discriminating the right versus wrong, you know. So that is one of the biggest obstacles from this. And again, what happens when we lose this discriminating power, we forget some of the most important facts in life. For example, we kind of are so much in this expectation mode. Even simple things, we forget. The most important thing I feel always is gratitude. Um, Simple things, for example, if I'm expecting some things from my parents, I know that I have to take care of my parents. I cannot expect anything more of them. But if I have some grudge, oh, my father didn't call me or my mother didn't call me, I'm forgetting a most important fact, that I have to be grateful for them. So the thing is, and even on top of this, most important thing is we truly forget how much we have received from the society, everything, who are none other than that Bhagwan himself, who has come in the form of people. And in that sense, so this is probably the biggest thing that affects Amanitvam, having Manitvam, that is, Manitvam, it is an obstacle for devotion, We are just not able to know what our priorities are and where we should be really being grateful for all this. So, of course, I claim to be the greatest at a little more exaggerated level. So that is why this value of Amanitvam is something we are saying is a very first aspect which is to be practiced. So the key aspects, is there is, if I practice Amanitvam, I can actually have this absence of self-conceit, freedom from the desire for honor, inner peace, recognition of, Bhagwan, and allows me to live a very simple life. I mean, if we look uh, around us also, many times, why do we fill our lives with so many things which we don't want? You know, a true reflection, if we do it, we will see, we will kind of come to a point that yes, I really enjoy all this, all that is there. But there is that slight amount of validation I'm looking from others on the kind of house I have, the kind of car I have, the kind of clothes I wear, all this. So Amanatvam allows us to get to being more authentic and more simple in our life, you know, and brings us forward towards truly understanding what my real nature of life is. And it's the foundation for other values, which you will see when Gita brought up this point of ego. There is this anahankaraha, then there is this value of, ahimsa, kshanti, all these values, you will see how amanitvam plays a big part of it. Arjavam. Arjavam is really being straightforward, and that straightforwardness, we are unable to maintain that because I'm always living a life that others think I should be living. I mean, so just as an example in US, right? Whenever we buy a house, we always are told by the realtor that make sure you buy a house which you can sell it in the future, in the sense, we are always doing something for the sake of something else. We are not doing it because this is who I am, this is my self-worth, and I'm confident, by the way, with how I am, you know. So this is where, since Usha brought it up also, and I was thinking about this a lot, and I talked to Meena also about this, So for example, so just a case study, for example, if I achieved something at work, okay, and my boss praises me. Now, the minute I boss praises me and it's out in the email, it's in the news saying that this person got an award and everything, what do I expect immediately? I expect my co-workers to come and congratulate me, okay? But for whatever reason, there's this one person who I really want that person to congratulate me, does not do and say anything at all. So, how do you think you would feel? So I'm just asking, how do you think that person will feel? And this happens all the time, right? This does happen. I'm just using a coworker in a company as an example, but that could be so many different things. Like I said,
Hurt.
Huh?
Right.
I feel hurt.
You feel hurt,
And
exactly.
a bit upset. Yeah.
Right, upset, disappointed, right? So I just put a few things here, first, my initial pride, that is, I feel disappointed out there. Then later, there's a little bit of confusion. Why is this person so silent? What is wrong? Did I, you kind of go through all this. And then, of course, like you said, hurt. And there's no invalidation at all. There's no acknowledgement of this. There's a lack of recognition from this. It makes you really question my relationship with this person, right? And it leads to kind of a minor resentment also, why is this person like this? And soon, and this is where Gita, it's not development of an ego, but the ego which is there, it really starts to prick us, right? So, what should we do in this case? You know, so in a typical Western scenario, you would, I mean, I'm pulling all this because I myself have gone through this when I was at work, and we would have my boss would call me to his room, and then he would say, okay, what do the managers have a sheet by which you have to go through, So, let's talk about it. Let's acknowledge. They would say, oh, let's talk what happened and let's acknowledge, yes. So you have to acknowledge the feeling that, yes, I went through hurt, I was disappointed, I was not recognized, I was, all that thing. And then, of course, your boss will say, yeah, no, but think about this. Why are you here? Think about you're here because for what you want to do and all this. And then, as a good boss, you'll be told, okay, you got to be professional about these things. It's okay, it happened, but don't let it really bother you. Let you're part of the team, and you just have to work on it. Make sure the work is still going on, all that stuff, right? And sometimes there can be an open communication where your boss may say that, well, why don't you go and say, talk to the person and say, hey, you know what? Can I talk to you in private? Let's talk about your project. Let's talk about this. And oh, by the way, why did you not come and acknowledge me or something like that, right? So all these things is how at work things would happen, and that's it. Okay. Now this is where Amanitvam really goes one step even further and really allows us to think through as, you know, even before it happens, before the hurt can happen. So it is kind of a proactive measure. All these are post scenarios. So that is one biggest thing that we can take away why Amanatvam is very, very important.
Can you go to the previous slides, Sunitha?
Yeah.
This one, you achieved some.
Yeah.
No, next one?
This is how you felt.
Right. So this is very common to happen, right?
Yes, that is why I
common.
put this, yeah.
But if we realize it right then and there, that, I mean, we have to go through it. Everybody goes through it, I'm sure.
No, but the point is, if I really understand Amanatvam, okay,
Yes.
we may go through this, but you will bounce back
Exactly.
faster, very fast.
That's what I
In
was
fact,
trying
at the highest level, you won't even feel it. Actually, if you really, if you practice Amanitvam, knowing that, I'm worth a certain thing, and at the end of this, actually much more, Amanitvam goes even much more deeper. We'll get to it. But the point about it is, if I've been practicing Amanitvam, if I've been reflecting on my day every day, when did I feel hurt? When did I feel ignored? When did I was expecting this call, it didn't call, this call didn't come. What did it make me feel? Suppose, I've been reflecting on all this every day and understanding it, then none of this will even happen. Or it may happen, but I will bounce back much better. So this is the kind of comparison I wanted to make with how an Indian, the value which is there in the scriptures like Amanitvam is of a practical value um, in our daily life. Anything more to add? Because this is really the powerful part of it, which I really wanted to go before I get to Adambitvam.
My thought process, acknowledge the feelings. So we will go through all those things, but we acknowledge ourselves and we come out by ourselves. First one.
No, this is what I put out here is a standard sheet which we would go through if I did not know Adambitvam in order to get out of it. Okay? This, I just gave a scenario.
These are the solutions, I thought.
No, these are not. This is how, for example, if I really went through, I did something at work and my boss acknowledged me for it. But then the team worker with whom I'm working with does not even acknowledge my boss's praise. My boss gave me an award for this. Okay. But my coworker does not acknowledge anything, and I get upset about it. And it is starting to cause stress in my life, and it is causing stress in my relationship at work. So then my boss calls me to the office and then says, okay, Sunitha, why are you upset? Let's go through all this. And then we go through all this kind of response and we leave it at that. My boss will ask me, okay, tell me, what are you going through? And I would say that, well, I'm really, I'm hurt, I'm disappointed, I'm really resentful, all these things. And then, that's the first step, right? And then second thing my boss would say is, yeah, that's true. But, focus on the bigger goal, higher goal. you're here for, for doing something more. And this is just a small bump in the road, he may say that, right? That's what this focus on intrinsic motivation is. And then he will also acknowledge, he will also advise me saying that, well, you have to work with this coworker. So why don't you continue to work, but be conscious about your relation, try to, and it'll be all at the superficial level, right? So I may still go out for a coffee with this person and
So
do
those
all
are
that.
solutions, right? Do you
Yeah,
call it?
these are kind of solutions from how we would deal with this situation.
Oh, okay, okay.
I'm trying to say that if I knew the value of amanatvam,
We don't need all this.
we don't need all this because I'm much more confident about who I am. I don't need any of this to validate me. So these are all validations.
Right. Correct. We don't need any of this. We will come out by ourselves.
Sunitha ji, this is what
Yes.
I was trying to say initially.
Yes.
This is the exact point I was trying to explain. Maybe I put it in a
Correct.
different.
No, you did. And Meena, that's what I wanted to acknowledge, saying that, this is where we are living our life, right?
Yeah.
But amanatvam is much, much more powerful in
Yes, it is.
sense. Amanatvam, if I truly understand amanatvam, I am in a position to be completely confident of my ability, my skills, and everything at one level. Okay. And when I'm confident of that, I will never go through the situation of being hurt by anybody. Nobody can hurt me. Nobody
Yes.
can take my peace away from me.
Yes. Exactly.
That is what amanitvam gives us. If I did not have amanitvam, or I have that manitvam, which is who I think I kind of acknowledge who I am and all this, when I have the manitvam, then I will go through all these issues every time at life, in the life. And the way I will try to solve it is by going through this four things, is what I'm saying.
This is
Okay.
very good. Yeah.
Yeah, this is how I would do it. But if I truly understand amanitvam, all this won't even happen, is what I'm saying, even at work.
Yes.
So
Yes.
when Usha brought up this point, so does that mean that, I don't go to my boss and everything? Absolutely not. I will go to if I feel my boss is wrong, or if I perceive what my boss did is wrong, I will be confident, I would be fearless, and I would go to my boss and say that, what, John, explain this to me. I did all this. Now tell me why I do not deserve a promotion or whatever. Or tell me this. I'm using a different example here. I'm not using where a coworker is hurt or whatever. But
So
or
without ego playing a role.
without ego playing a role. Exactly. Without your ego playing the role. Yes.
When you explained that first example, the scenario that I brought it up, that drama was trying to, the boatman first refused and all
Yes.
that.
Now,
That will
correct. Now,
definitely fit here.
so can you explain that, Meena, that example of Rama and yeah. Oh no, I'm sorry. You said you're not feeling well. Okay, I will read out what you said then. I have it in front of me. So Meena came up with this example, how, when Lord Rama was wanting to cross the Ganges, okay? So initially, the boatman Kevat, he refuses to do that, okay? So at that point in time, Rama could have said, what is this? It is your duty as a boatman to take me across, okay? But he did not get mad. He did not get mad at Kevat or anything. He was very calm. He was very patient, and he accepted. He actually asked Kevat, why are you not doing it? So the boatman says, well, I cannot allow you to step on my boat because I want to wash your feet. you know so you can see, in this case, now, if had Rama been very upset about it or something, he would have really hurt somebody's feelings, about this. But he did not get upset. He allowed the situation because he was so confident on who he was, right? And he was able to accept Kevat's next point, which is, of course, at a higher level, we may say, after all, he is that Vishnu and he knows everything, right? But he, in the avatar as a human being, he is teaching us this lesson of amanitvam, right? Where he did not demand that respect or his status, but he allowed things to happen. And what he got out of this was so beautiful because he made the Kevat, the boatman, feel so good by allowing him to wash his feet.
He did not want to disclose his royal status to him. It was initially he should have said, "Hey, you know who I am" and all that, but he was just keeping calm. This example really into the case study that you gave right now.
Yes.
It's very good. Thank you so much.
Yeah. As I said, the more and more I read about just as Amanatvam, I'm amazed as to how the value is so very practical and so much we need to reflect upon it and practice it. And again, how can I really bring about that understanding in my mind is if I have the gratitude, one part of it is actually practicing gratitude because if I'm grateful to all the things that is happening in the world, I will also be grateful for any event that happens in my life which is trying to teach me a lesson where I am weak. So if I take it in that attitude, in that sense also it will help me a lot in my spiritual journey. You know, that is one thing. The second aspect about it is that even the skill that I have received, which gives me that amount of worthiness of which I'm worth, that skill itself is not just by my own effort. I happened to be in a situation where I was able to get that skill. So, in that sense, also the word gratitude is such an important, and by being grateful, I will be able to overcome this feeling of manitvam, an exaggerated view of my ability or whatever. So, I hope that gave you some food for thought. Think about this with these two examples and see how manitvam can be a value. Any final thoughts? I know we are already 3 minutes over, but
Thanks for
can
going
we
in
term
detail.
it as, go ahead, sorry.
No, just I want to say thanks for going in detail with the examples. Yeah,
welcome.
that helps.
Like I said, this is a
This gives
discussion.
it an elaborate. I mean, you went in detail about what is manatvam. I mean, it gives us a real good idea of everything because you're showing with a lot of examples, scenarios, and stuff. So, which really helps us to understand. Thank you so much for all your efforts.
No problem. As I said, every time I look at it, I see there is some value for me personally, And again, as I said, these are situations that happen to us every day, And whether it's from family, whether it's from our friends, whether it is at work situations, whether it's neighbors, and just because it doesn't happen, um, we shouldn't be thinking we're living in a bubble, in that sense, like I said, after coming here, when you're faced with so many people, you see it really shakes up a lot of the values which we might have, and uh, how does it work, kind of thing. You really pay a lot of attention to it. Yeah, Mother, you wanted to say
Yeah,
something?
very beautiful. Like, Sunita, it's very clear and very nice. The case study and that example of Rama and Kevat,
Yeah,
that's wonderful actually.
that was
Yeah,
Meena's
very
example.
example. Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful.
Can we
Thank you.
say, can we say Amanitam as self-confidence without ego?
Yes, absolutely. You can say that self-confidence without ego, total self-confidence. Nothing will shake you. People may say you're a fool, you're this, all that, but it doesn't bother you because you know who you are, you know? And that is the beauty of Amanitvam. Amanitvam will, like, if I'm really confident of who I am, nobody can shake me. The very fact that when I feel shaken or I have that sense of anger, maybe if I cook this wonderful sambar for my family and nobody acknowledges it or whatever, but I feel it that, oh, nobody is acknowledged, that itself is a reaction for me to know that I have that amount of manitvam in me. And I have to immediately start thinking, okay, why am I having this manitvam? What is my expectation? After all, this learning the sambar was from my mother. My mother taught me this. I have to be grateful to her for this, and I'm grateful that I have my family to whom I can feed the sambar, All these values will immediately come to me, and then I don't feel that anger. I don't feel disappointed. So that is what that self-worth is about. I'm who I am. And everything else, as Swami Dayananda will put it, he says everything is mithya, it is an illusion. So this manitvam is an mithya of mithya, he says, I really love that statement, mithya of mithya, he says, because he says, first of all, the skill itself I've got from others, okay? And I'm being proud of that skill, and I'm expecting people to praise me for that skill, or I'm being not acknowledged for that skill. What kind of the world am I living in? So in that sense, also this manitvam needs to be really, really practiced. If anybody has any, I was hoping to put a kind of a reflection journal, how can I monitor this, all that. But if somebody has ideas, please do share in that group also, Bhagavad Gita group, or send it to me and I'll send it to all of us.
Very nice explanation, Sunitha ji. Thank you.
You're welcome. There's beautiful things coming up. They're all not that detailed as such, not needed. Because like I said, Arjavam or Kshanti or even Ahimsa, they all depend upon this amanitvam. Okay. Believe it or not, Ahimsa also depends on that manitvam. So this is all from just one shloka. Oh, sorry, yeah, so much. There you are. Okay. सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ.
Happy
Hari Om.
Pongal, everyone.
Happy
Yeah.
Pongal.
Thank you so much, Sunitha.
Thank you.
Hari
Hari Om.
Om.
Thank you, Sunitha ji.
Hari Om.
Happy
Thank you,
Pongal.
Sunitha ji.
Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari